Hi, I'm Kim Laprie from the Teachers Need Teachers podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, Burned In Teachers, and welcome to episode 67 of the Burned In Teacher podcast. This is one part burnout and all other parts action, inspiration, and support for teachers dealing with burnout. I'm your host, Amber Harper, and I am so grateful that you are spending your precious time with me today. Today, we're going to talk about being burned out and the actual benefits of being burned out, especially while in quarantine. Now, whether or not you're burned out, avoiding burnout, or you've taken the teacher burnout quiz and know your type, this episode is for you. No matter where you are on your burnout journey, we're going to talk about all of the ways that you can benefit from being a burned out teacher. Yes, I know I typically talk about how to be a burned in teacher, right? But today we're flipping the script and we're talking real talk about all of the opportunity that comes from being a burned out teacher, especially while in quarantine. Let's go. Welcome to the Burned In Teacher podcast. I'm Amber Harper, and the educators on this podcast are brave enough to share their stories of burnout with the world. On BIT, we get real, we get honest, and we take action. Action against the burnout with stories from burned out teachers, advice from experts, and actionable steps you can take today to beat the burnout and become a happier, more fulfilled human being. Let's get started. All right, we're going to dive into today's episode here in just a second. But first, I want to share a really sweet review from Jennifer Molitor. I interviewed her on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she left such a sweet review on iTunes for the Burned In Teacher podcast. She said, "Hope for all teachers. We've all been there. The overwhelm, demands, pressures, and ambition can become too much. Tune in for practical strategies for finding a way through the burnout. Great place to lift each other up. I appreciate Amber's vulnerability and easy to implement strategies." Jen, thank you so much for that review. I really appreciate it. And if you would leave a review and a rating of the Burned In Teacher podcast, I would really appreciate it. It would really help a lot of teachers to find this podcast, and that is the mission. You know, I want to offer inspiration, action, and support to as many teachers as I possibly can. And in order to do that, they need to be able to find the Burned In Teacher podcast easily, and ratings and reviews help. And so far, I have had 5 out of 5 stars for all of the ratings that I've gotten, and that just warms my heart and makes me so excited to continue the mission of Burned In Teacher. You know, and in reference to what Jen is talking about in her review, these practical strategies for finding a way out of the burnout, that then makes me think of the first practical strategy, which is acknowledging that you're burned out. And if you're wondering what the heck I was talking about in the intro about whether you're burned and bored, burned and over it, burned and what now, Amber, you might be asking, then I want you to go to burnedinteacher.com/burnout quiz and take this 6-question, 3-minute or less quiz. You guys, I have sat in a room packed full of teachers. I'm talking wall to wall in my breakout sessions. And I'm telling you, they sneak in hoping that nobody sees them, or they'll come in with their teacher bestie. And when they get their results from this quiz, their faces light up. They turn to their teacher bestie and they say things like, "I'm not crazy. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad teacher. There's a name for exactly how I'm feeling." It gives me goosebumps just talking about it. And you can have that feeling too. And the icing on the cake is that when you take the quiz and you opt in to get your results, in your inbox will land a shiny, brand new ebook that I just created called Stages. And what this does for you is it walks you through what you might be thinking, feeling, and doing. And these stages of burnout are transformational, my friend, I'm telling you. So you get to figure out not only what your type of burnout is that you're dealing with, but where you are on the Burned In Teacher success path. You know I'm all about taking action, and I have specific action steps to help you to begin to take those steps that you need to take to beat your specific type of burnout. So get in there, take the quiz, burnedinteacher.com/burnout quiz. Okay, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. And I don't know if you can tell, but I feel like I feel differently than I did last week when I recorded the episode about the COVID-19 trauma and how it's affecting us and what we can do about it. I feel like just addressing that elephant in the room. And I've gotten such fantastic feedback from teachers. They're DMing me and emailing me and thanking me for addressing the fact that, sometimes we don't want to initiate lasting change. When we have these traumatic situations, we need to sit back and just think or not think and just take some deep breaths and rest our minds and our hearts and our heads. And so now that I've done that, I'm back in action. Like, I'm ready. So I've wanted to do this episode for a while, but I didn't quite know how to address it, because I typically talk about how to be a burned in teacher, and we're all trying to get out of burnout, but I feel like this is a great time to really address the fact that when we go through burnout, we have a tremendous opportunity. And I'm all about self-talk and perspective, but that's just the beginning. So today I want to talk to you about the 4 surprising benefits of burnout, especially while we're in quarantine. All right? Now, here's what I want to make sure to address. This is different for everybody. Everybody's burnout is different. Everybody's personality and home life and goals and school life and values are different. So I want you to take these 4 benefits, and I want you to make sure that that I understand that although we're all on the same journey of, wanting to beat burnout and be a happier and more fulfilled human, that we might not be taking the exact same path to get there. And we also may not be in the same season. I'm not ignorant of the fact that, some of us have littles at home. Some of us are single, and some of us have been married for 20 plus years, and we don't all have the same goals. Some of us want to love teaching again, maybe second grade or social studies or middle school math. Other people have a goal of getting out of the classroom and doing something different, whether that take another position in your school district or another position altogether, or start a new career or go back to college. I want you to take all of that into consideration while I talk about these benefits, because the fact is, the overarching benefit of all of this is opportunity. I don't know what your district expects of you, and I don't know what narrative you're having with yourself about what you have to do versus what you really have to do, but this is a tremendous opportunity. We have more time now than we will ever have to create the life and the structure that we want to see in our life as teachers. So that's what I want to make sure that I'm clear about. Opportunity is the name of the game today. And it's up to you to decide how you want to spend this time and what opportunities you want to bring into your life from this time that we have. So here we go. The first benefit of being burned out, especially when being stuck at home, is the fact that you have time now to be inspired and motivated to create visible changes for yourself. So I've always said this, when you hit rock bottom, there's no place to go but up. It's your choice whether you want to stay there at rock bottom or you actually want to open up your perspective and your mind to be inspired and motivated to create the change that you need to go up. I love to think of I have several movies, but the movie that comes to mind most recently that I've watched is Brittany Runs a Marathon. I don't know if you've watched this movie. It's a little brash, but I love a good movie of transformation. Rocky, with the inspiration music, and you see these cuts of them going from one stage of their life to the next stage. And they, it shows the little pieces of hardship and how they're, getting up early and doing the workouts. And I just love that stuff. I love helping or watching people do the work. That's why I do what I do. I love watching that transformation. And I know teachers, that's why you started to be a teacher. Most of you wanted to see that transformation in your students. But sometimes we lose sight of the transformation or the opportunity for transformation that we have. And I'm telling you, being burned out is a call for you to find inspiration and to get motivated to create the visible changes. Now, of course, the mindset changes are really important. You cannot change a thing until you change your mindset. All right? It's just God's honest truth here. But to see the visible change, gosh, you can find so many. You have the time now to find many sources of inspiration to get you motivated to create visible change in your life. Whether that's to lose a few pounds, whether you're inspired and motivated to learn a new skill as a teacher. Maybe this is a chance for you to become inspired from somebody online that you now have the time to find and to maybe take a course or to read a book about classroom management because, frankly, your relationships with your students stink and you want to do better. You want to be better at that. This is an opportunity for you. All right? This is also an opportunity for you. Here's number 2. To show courage and take safe risks. So number 2 is all about courage. If you're burned out and you are stuck at home, you have a chance to safely take risks at home and no one has to watch you fail, right? Now, I'm all about trying stuff and failing. Lord knows I put myself in the arena all the time and I get my butt kicked a lot. But some people aren't as comfortable with that. They want to take risks and show courage in the safety of their own home, right? So this is a chance for you to do something different and no one has to see you trying these things. Hell, you can look up new degrees, take a course, you can binge on personal development books, you can even search for different jobs from the safety of your own home just to see how it feels. And that can be another teaching job. It can be a job that you don't know if you're actually qualified for yet. It can be a job outside of education just to see how it feels, right? You could practice. I just talked about how you might be inspired to take a course or to read a book about classroom management to build better relationships with your students. You can actually record yourself, practice having a conversation with your child, right? This is an opportunity and no one has to know. But you're learning lessons, you're taking that inspiration, that motivation, and you're trying stuff because you can't get different results if you don't try something different and you don't do things that are a little risky, okay? The next thing is, and this is probably my favorite thing, the self-actualization that can come from burnout. Now that we aren't at school every day, literally surrounded by other people's expectations and opinions of what a good teacher does or what a good classroom looks like. And, all of the judgment that sometimes flows throughout some schools. I know it's not all the same. Again, this is not all the same for everybody. But we can come to a place of self-actualization. When you decide how you got to where you are and think about how you can solve your challenges and you can set goals for yourself. Again, you can go back to that, number 2, the courage. Setting new, scary, risky goals for yourself, trying things you've never tried, looking at things and reading things you've never read, you open up a huge window of possibilities. And what I love about all 4 of these benefits is that they're cyclical. They blend into one another, right? So the self-actualization leads to inspiration and motivation, right? You find this self-actualization from number 1. The riskiest thing is admitting, man, I am burned out so badly. And I know this about myself. And now I know my burnout type. And now I know what stage I am. And now I know that I have this huge opportunity to try some new things and to look for the possibilities that I have. Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps right now. This gets me so excited. This is like that movie that I'm talking about, right? There's self-actualization when people in movies go through these transformations. They realize they need a change and they take action. Okay, number 4. You can become an advocate for other teachers going through what you have gone through. That's exactly what Burned In Teacher was born out of. I wanted to be an advocate for you. I wanted to offer you safe, honest, actionable advocacy. Advocacy? I'm going to leave this in there. I'm not taking it out. When you are an inspired, motivated, courageous, self-actualized teacher, oh my goodness, you can change the world. And you can share your story with confidence and with no shame. Because you can say, I was there and now I am here. And here's what I did. And I go back to the intro of this. It's different for everybody. Everybody's at a different stage. Everybody's in a different season. Everybody's burned out for different reasons. But You get to become an advocate, and not only for other people, but for yourself. And I'm telling you, one of the things of courage and self-actualization is you can advocate for yourself and your own needs. Maybe one of the risky things you do is you pretend like you're sitting down with your principal and you say, this is how I feel, and this is what I need from you. Can you help me to understand how we could make this happen? That's a risky thing, and it could take a lot of practice at home with this time that you have. And then you maybe schedule a Zoom call, because maybe it's easier to have this conversation over video than literally face-to-face in an office. This isn't about being combative or being disrespectful, but maybe those conversations that you need to have, you can have the time to practice them, type them out, record yourself saying them. You have the time to do that now. So I've been talking about these 4 benefits of being burned out, especially while stuck at home. Number 1, becoming inspired and motivated. Number 2, building courage and taking safe risks. Number 3 is coming to self-actualization. And number 4 is becoming an advocate for yourself and for other teachers who are struggling with what you're struggling with. Now, I also have some ways that you can apply this to your specific type of burnout. So if you have not taken the teacher burnout quiz, I know you're probably at home listening to this, so I want you to pause this episode and I want you to go take the teacher burnout quiz. And I don't care if you took it 6 months ago, okay? The quiz has been around for over a year. I don't care if you took it 6 months ago, a year ago. If you haven't taken it in the last 2 weeks, take it again, because it's customized to teaching virtually, to being at home, to the struggles of being a virtual teacher. And it also brings in just your general feelings about where you are right now. And when you take it, it's going to give you specific actionable steps and details about your specific type of burnout. And then you're going to get the Stages ebook. And you're going to need all of those things as you think about what's going to inspire you and motivate you, and what type of courage you need to show, and the risks that you specifically need to take. It's going to cause you to have some self-actualization, okay? I'm like smiling ear to ear. I get so fired up when I talk about it because it's so transformational. So if you are a burned and bored teacher, here are some risky things I'd like you to try. Here's some motivation and some inspiration for you. If you're burned and bored, you need a challenge. Okay, you may have had it all figured out whenever you were in the physical classroom, and hey, maybe teaching virtually is the challenge that you needed. But this is also an opportunity for you to seek out other challenges that you can bring into your life that you can overcome. So whether that's thinking about the degree that you might want to get so you can become a principal, or maybe getting that, taking those classes that you need so that you can teach a different subject. Maybe it's looking for that different job in that district that you've had your eye on, okay? If you're burned and bored, you need to focus on analysis and activating change, okay? If you are burned and over it, you need to focus on your relationships, whether that be with your administrator, your students, heck, maybe even your family at this point. You might be burned and over it at your house with your family. So you need to be looking and finding inspiration and motivation to step back and look at why your relationships are suffering with whoever they are suffering, okay? If you are burned and unbalanced, and I know that is over 75% of the teachers that take the quiz come out on the other end burned and unbalanced. If you're burned and unbalanced, you're already saying, Amber, I can't. I'm working more now than I did when I was in the classroom. I'm working all hours of the day. Then you especially need to find some inspiration and some motivation to change the narrative about what you have to do versus what your top priorities are. And you may need to work on your self-talk because you've got some agents of same keeping you where you are, such as there's so much to do, I don't know where to start, so I'm going to keep doing the same thing I was doing. And these are the things that I'm seeing on Instagram, so these are the things I have to do, and I can do everything myself. Okay? So if you're saying those things to yourself and you're saying, I'm too busy, I can't believe how I hate this virtual teaching. I'm so busy. I have my kids at home with me. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm also teaching kindergarten online, and I have to be on. Step back, take a deep breath, and think about the narrative that you're having. And I want you to focus on prioritization. I want you to make a list of the things you have to do, the things that you're being held accountable for with your district. And I want you to really think about, what do I have to do versus what have I convinced myself that I have to do? Because you can't be a superhero. You can't do everything yourself. And you can't do every awesome lesson that you see on Instagram or Pinterest. The most important thing right now for your students, and this is for all burned out types, the most important thing right now is that you try to connect with your students. And it's even more important than teaching every standard and every lesson and being on for them all the time. They just want to know that you're there, right? We don't have to do these huge postable lessons, okay? Or make these amazing, perfect videos. Just be you. Be the teacher that is there for them. And do the best you can with the amount of hours that you decide you want to teach. Now, with that being said, burned and over it, burned and unbalanced, burned and bored teachers, maybe you're not burned out, you just need a slight adjustment, I want to invite you to a free training. Next month, in just a few weeks, I'm going to be offering a free 4-part video training series that's going to land in your inbox, and it is going to change your life. I'm not kidding you. It will literally change your life. So if this episode speaks to you and you are ready to open yourself up to all of the opportunities that you have in the next few weeks and months to change your life, this video training series is for you, my friend. Because we're going to focus on, if you were overwhelmed and frustrated and bored before the quarantine, you have such a huge opportunity to, no matter what type of burnout you are, to get out the door at the time that you want and live life without waiting for summer to happen. So I want you to go to burnedinteacher.com/waitlist. I want you to jump on that waitlist because it's going to be amazing. There are actually a lot of teachers already on the waitlist, because if you've taken the teacher burnout quiz lately, then at the very bottom of your specific landing page, you are going to see an opt-in form. And that is for the free video training that's coming at you in May. There is so much happening next month, and it's all for you. Next month, we're going to talk about never settling, and I have got incredible episodes and so much action, inspiration, and support coming your way. Oh, May is going to be amazing. Amazing. Get it? I didn't even mean that to happen. I'm going to leave that in there too. Listen, I want you to take a deep breath because you just took another step to becoming a burned-in teacher. And until next week, stay home, stay safe. I'm here for you. Burn on. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, you can head over to burnedinteacher.com, where you can access the entire vault of Burned In Teacher podcast episodes and more information about ways I want to help you go from burned out teacher to burned in human. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would be so grateful if you would head over to iTunes and leave a review and a rating about the Burned In Teacher podcast. Until next time, take a deep breath, because you just took another step to becoming a burned-in teacher. Burn on.